As you know, Graphisoft has been a pioneer in the past few years connecting algorithmic design with BIM by creating a deep link between the inner logic of Grasshopper and Rhino and the building logic of AutoCAD. And this year, in the latest version of the Rhino Grasshopper AutoCAD Live Connection, we went one step further and to allow you to access the surface geometry of any AutoCAD BIM element. Now, what is it good for? On one hand, you can use this surface geometry as an input in Grasshopper and Rhino to generate additional BIM elements, or two, or on the other side, you can use this surface information to analyze and optimize the BIM model using the vast ecosystem of the Rhino Grasshopper platform. So let's see an example for the first one. In this example, we are designing and we are working on a tennis stadium that is in the early design phase, where we are still experimenting with the building envelope. And what I have in mind is a double layer facade consisting of an internal curtain wall and an external perforated metal shell. And I would like to use Rhino and Grasshopper to generate a supporting structure between the two layers. And I would like to do this using the live connection to be able to experiment and work with the building envelope in the context of the BIM model. So let's see how it goes. I can very simply reference the AutoCAD shell into Rhino and Grasshopper. And let me show you the structure that I have in mind between the two. So it's like it's consisting of beams and columns. So let's just bring those in to AutoCAD. And very quickly, as you can see, they appeared. But as I mentioned, we are in the early design phase, which means that the building design goes through a lot of changes. For example, I would like to bulge and curve the profile of the external shell of the AutoCAD shell here. Something like this. So now I change the surface geometry of the AutoCAD element, and by sending the changes to Rhino and Grasshopper, the code recalculates the structure between them, and it bulges it according to the surface geometry. And this allows us and allows you to discover more different design options and experiment more with the building envelope and try out different variations, basically. All right, but another advantage of the Rhino Grasshopper platform is its amazing ecosystem of plugins. For example, for environmental analysis and optimization. So in the next example, I have a nice little restaurant building on this hillside, and I would like to perform a sunlight hour analysis on it. And since with the latest version of the live connection, we can extract the surface geometry of the facade that later on we can analyze, and in this case I'm going to use the Ladybug add-on of Grasshopper. So I can extract the windows, I can extract the roof geometry, and based on that I can run a sunlight analysis. So let me just show you the result of that. And as you can see in the bottom left corner, my facade is quite exposed to the sun. The red areas are more exposed, the blue areas are a little bit more shaded thanks to the roof. So what can we do to make it a better performing building? Obviously, we have to create some kind of shading system. And what I have in mind is a shading system that is consisting of vertical frames and is waving along the building facade. And for that, a quite obvious choice would be to use AutoCAD's parametric complex profiles, an innovation that we introduced last year. So I would like to use this profile, but multiple versions of it. And in the latest version, now we can control these offset modifiers from Grasshopper based on some parameters or some curves. So let's just do that. Let's bring in those geometries. And let's see how it affects the performance of our building. And once the geometry is loaded into AutoCAD, as you can see, it's nicely waving through my facade. But again, since you might want to try different design variations, you can play along with some Rhino curves. And I believe this is a little bit too much bulged in here. So let's make it a little bit more subtle so that the guests from the restaurant can enjoy the view. And as you can see, by just adjusting a little bit of a curve, it opened up the facade. So let's see how my analysis looks like after applying this shading system. As you can see, this is the result after the shading system was applied, and this is before that. And this is created by referencing the ArchiCAD BIM surface geometry into Grasshopper and just running an analysis very quickly. So as you can see, we could seriously and significantly improve the performance of the building. And I hope that you can see that using the new deconstruct functionalities and using the parametric complex profiles combined with Grasshopper, you can have much more time for design and have better performing buildings. So thank you very much.